We have about 68 or almost 70 pages of the GDP numbers to dissect and let you have it. So quite a lot of data in here from the Bureau of Statistics, the first day of the week. And of course, we're poring over this entire document just released about 8:30, about 2 hours or so ago by the Bureau of Statistics. Where did we stop before the break? Yes, we're doing a bit of a sectoral breakdown for our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. If you've seen the numbers and you're in the market, so you know some of the details as it were. Wholesale and retail sector contracted 2.14% in second quarter from 2.57% in the first quarter of this year, and a positive reading of 2.07% in the fourth quarter of last year. Transport and storage sector was a go. Very good one. Transport and storage sector grew a whopping 21.76% in the last quarter, from 14.45% in the first quarter of the year. And finally, construction, as you heard earlier, grew 7.66% from a negative 1.54% because the administration has been spending rapidly into road, rail, and bridges across the country. Let's get the first word into these very important economic data from Johnson Chukwu, who is an economist and the CEO at Carrier Asset Management from downtown Lagos, joining us via Skype. Good morning, and hope you had a very nice weekend.
Good morning, Bosin.
Let's hit the ground running. This is good, but not so good. A disappointing GDP data, 1.5% against 1.95% in the first quarter.
Well, I think the reality is it's not good. It's not just that it's good, that it's not good. If you look at the fact what happened before we went into a recession, we saw a steady decline in our GDP. We're beginning to see that. The best we've had so far was a 2.11% GDP growth rate in the last quarter of last year, that is the fourth quarter of 2017. Thereafter, we had a 1.95% GDP growth rate in the first quarter of 2018, and now we're down to 1.95% in the second quarter of 2018. Those are not a positive trend. That's the reality of the matter. And then if you look at the sector that should actually propel economic activities, they are all contracting. You saw the oil and gas sector that accounts for 8.55% of the GDP, contracted by 3.95%. We saw the manufacturing sector only grew by a marginal 0.6%. So if you look at the sector that actually propel economic activity, we're not seeing that. Though the GDP grew by positively by 1.5%, but the sector that should propel job creation and economic expansion are not in the positive territory.
Johnson, I'm sure you have taken some time to look at the numbers as well. The non-oil sector had a rebound, while the oil sector was a major dive down. I'll put it side by side. If you look at the manufacturing sector, growing but very, very sluggish, dragging. I think this confirmed the PMI numbers we had in the previous months on the review.
Yes, absolutely. You saw the GDP growth rate in the manufacturing sector was only 0.68%, I pointed earlier. Compare that to the first quarter when it grew by about 3.9%. And that's a major contraction in terms of growth rate. Then go to the agricultural sector. Agricultural sector grew the first quarter 3.01%. It only grew by 1.19% in the second quarter. And we have always pointed out that the impact of the crisis we're having in the North Central is going to reflect on the GDP growth figure. And agricultural sector accounts for about 22.8% of the GDP. So this manufacturing sector accounts for 9.29% of the GDP. So the key sector that we should be driving growth are not growing. And to what matters, the oil and gas sector that is has actually contracted at negative of 3.95%.
If you look at what we are looking at right now in terms of where government has been spending money, you look at transportation and construction, that sector is growing very rapidly, including the cement sector.
Yeah, that's expected. You know, this is a pre-election period. There's no doubt the government is putting a lot of resources on road construction. We've seen a couple of construction going on in a number of regions. I know the southeast, there's some construction going on there, and several other regions. So that's reflected in the construction industry that grew by 7.66%. Of course, the construction industry had a auxiliary support industry like the cement subsector that also saw positive performance. So that was expected because, one, I've always said it, that as we approach the election, all the tiers of government will try to leave some tombstones they can point to, which will be a campaign, basically the campaign in 2019. And that's what we are seeing, the growth in construction sector. But beyond the construction sector, we should also see What economic policies will drive growth in other critical sectors? Manufacturing sector, for instance, it's key that we reactivate that sector because that's the sector will create the employment we need.
Agriculture has been the sing-song of the government, this administration, and even the Jonathan's administration pride themselves, beat their chests and say, look, we're getting agriculture up and running. But do you think the violence, the deadly violence in Nigeria's food basket region around the Middle Belt, and then all the way to North Central, of course, we already have the Northeast sector as a major, a very bloody zone, as it were. Then it's beginning to move a little bit to the Northwest. Now it looks like the entire, that region, the president just flagged off 1,000 strong men, and he says they should use whatever means possible to rout out criminal elements and others who may want to make that region in Zamfara State and elsewhere ungovernable.
Well, I'm happy that the president is finally taking action, although it's coming a bit belated. I mean, we've seen a situation where there is a expansion in the theater of conflict to the entire northern zones. It started in the northeast. We saw displacement of farmers in Borno State, in Adamawa State, and now we've gradually seen displacement of farmers in Benue, in Plateau, that's the entire north central, and then eventually has moved to northwest. We are seeing what's happening in Zamfara. Sokoto was known to be a state with no high level of stability and security, began to witness murders in places like Sokoto, Katsina, or the rest. So it's coming now, but it's coming a bit late. But it should have come earlier, but it's never too late that the president has taken a position that the security forces should use all resources at their disposal to tame the level of insecurity we have in the northern region. I've always believed that with the right decision, with the right commitment, I do not imagine any splinter group or any group of people that have the capacity to disrupt our security to the extent that the forces, the state forces, will now be running away from such security forces if they have the mandate to curtail it. I'm happy the president is doing that now. But of course, the figures are already there. We've seen that in the GDP figure. Probably the next 2 quarters, we'll begin to see the effect of that decision to bring down the level of insecurity in the north.